Well, hi everybody. It's Kim Winter here again, and we're speaking to a range of business leaders this week, many supply chain leaders around the world. And today it's my great pleasure to introduce, early in the morning, Professor Justin Goldston. Professor Goldston, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Where are you hailing from today?
I'm hailing from Maryland with plenty of snow on the ground.
so we hear. Good job. But you're able to get out and drive around, not like Texas, yeah?
Oh yes. We have water, we have power, so we're good. We're blessed.
Maryland rules, all good. So Justin, you're a coordinator and project lead in supply chain management at Penn State currently. You have a range of responsibilities running simultaneously. You're with the International Standards Board executive and with the Education Alliance there. You're a graduate professor at SME of Supply Chain Management at Georgetown. I understand you're doing that simultaneously. You're a Management Advisory Board member at Rasmussen University. Interestingly, and I want to talk about this a bit later on as well, you're a TED Talk organizer and speaker, and I know I've seen you speaking on a number of occasions on TED Talks. And you've also been a professor and faculty member across a number of universities, including Harrisburg and a number of other states around the US. So, hey, welcome again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. Good to talk to you. And you and I were on a panel about midway through last year. So it's good to catch up with you again. Conditions have changed in some ways, got better for some people and worse for others. So we're conscious of the fact that it's a very dynamic environment, especially in the US where you're from. So we'll look forward to talking about some of the dynamics about the environment in the US over the next half an hour or so. So you're a very well-known speaker and thought leader in the area of sustainability, artificial intelligence, and I know you've got a couple of other areas of specialization which I want to talk to a bit later as well, including cryptocurrency and blockchain. So I know you'll want to put a few provisos and non-disclosures out there before.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that soon. So let me talk to you a little bit about sustainability. I mean, we've had, to a large extent, a year from hell for many, but many opportunities also over the last 12, 15 months or so since the pandemic struck. We're moving forward. We're in 2021. You guys have got a new government. You've got a whole lot of new things happening in supply chain. E-commerce is booming. Consumer patterns are changing. Talk to us a little bit about sustainability and what the big movements have been in sustainability. Is sustainability being left behind while everybody's still trying to make money, or what's happening there?
I think that we have seen an increased awareness in terms of sustainability. I have made a few bold statements to say that our to a sustainability kind of led us to this whole pandemic. And I'll also say that sustainability is a broad term, an umbrella, if you will, that includes a number of different topics, a number of different areas that we are looking to address, in terms of gender equality, in terms of the civil unrest that we had within the United States, in terms of the climate change that we're currently experiencing. So a number of things that we're talking about, a number of issues that occurred in 2020, sustainability has kind of been put to the forefront, if you will, as opposed to put on the back burner, in my opinion. Okay.
So if we look at that a little bit further, as I say, you've had a change of government. There's been a fair bit of, no secret, there's been a fair bit of divisiveness in the US in recent times on a range of levels. What's the feeling there in terms of the way that the Biden administration, without getting political, there's quite a change in strategy, a change in policy in a number of areas. What do you see moving forward, especially in relation to supply chain, when there's been a lot of trading barriers up and a lot of consternation about trading? Do you see that things are going to improve there? And if so, how so?
I think things are going to improve between the U.S. and other countries. Within the United States, that still remains to be seen. But I think that because of the increased relationships outside of the U.S., I think that those people that were, because you have to see that half of the country was for the Biden administration and the other half was for the Trump administration. So those within the Trump administration, I feel that we'll see the benefits that will come out of these approaches. And, I think that they're going to give the Biden administration a chance, in my opinion. But again, that remains to be seen.
Well, good. Yeah, well, time will tell, right? Time will tell. And, trade in general terms in certain areas of the economy has suffered, but there have been many areas of positivity and boom since I think everyone realised around the middle of last year, once they began to grapple with the concept of this pandemic, that business had to move on and as best as possible could, and depending on the state in the US and depending on the administration and depending on the governance of what was going on. Everybody's been trying to get as much trade going and as much revenue generating through the economy as possible. You've had some sustainable support mechanisms in there, of course, as other countries, many other countries around the world have had, including Australia and New Zealand, where I've got a lot of experience in those markets. Talking to trade, we've seen cryptocurrency really in the news in recent weeks and days, and massive uptakes and increases in valuations of various currencies. Give us a bit of a heads up on the take, because I'm certainly no expert in that space. And many of my staff around the world in the last week or two, it's for whatever reason, it's been a subject as well, and a lot of media generating that. Talk to us a little bit about where you see crypto is currently in the economic sense and where you perceive it going. And I know you want to put a rider with any discussion or advice that you're giving here.
Yeah, I am not providing financial advice. I am just providing education on the topic of cryptocurrencies.
You've been talking about crypto for a long time, right?
Yes. So yeah, I've been talking about blockchain and cryptocurrencies for a number of years, before it was cool, if you will. Now, you've seen Elon Musk discussing Dogecoin, and that thing shot up many times, and I'm happy that he did that because I had some Dogecoin. But anyway, that's not the point. So, Elon said that, Tesla invested billions of dollars within Bitcoin. And then you had universities, you had Ivy League universities, such as Yale and Harvard and Brown, as well as the University of Michigan, that said that, their endowments have been investing in Bitcoin for over a number of years. And I think that you're going to see more and more organizations saying that, they have Bitcoin to hedge against the dollar, in the coming months. But I think that Bitcoin is a store of value, kind of like gold. And then you also have another cryptocurrency known as Ethereum, where it has what I refer to as utility. I talk a lot about these cryptocurrencies that have utility, such as Ethereum. Okay, now everyone was on the Bitcoin cryptocurrency because that's what everyone's talking about. But from a supply chain perspective, you're going to hear topics cryptocurrencies such as Ethereum. Because you can have use cases in supply chain management that you can put on the Ethereum blockchain. So you can create smart contracts. And with more and more organizations using the Ethereum blockchain and using these tokens, that is going to bring the price of that particular cryptocurrency up.
Okay.
You know, so and you're going to see more and more of these cryptocurrencies coming out. Yes, there's going to be some that will not survive. And that's the one thing I'm going to caution everyone on, because you're going to see a lot of cryptocurrencies popping up, and you have to see some of these a large percentage of these cryptocurrencies like penny stocks.
So when you say a lot of them won't survive, are you saying in generic terms? Again, you're not a financial advisor, we get that. But when you say a lot won't survive, if I've got $1,000 or $100,000 tied up in a certain currency and it doesn't survive, does that mean I lose that money? Or
you lose that money, because
so it's a gamble scenario here.
It's a gamble scenario. So it's essentially like a startup that is looking to now. You'll hear the term initial coin offering. Those are legal now. But there are ways in which these organizations can raise funds by giving out tokens. Okay. Because so if you don't invest money, right, or if you're giving tokens for what's the word I'm looking for? For performing activities for this particular project, you'll be given tokens. Right. And now that token's on the marketplace, and now anyone can purchase that token. Right. And because of the nature of the market, there's huge swings. You know, a particular token can go up or down 30-40% a day. You know, I think we've seen a big swing in Bitcoin and Ethereum yesterday, you know, and then it bounced back a little bit. You know, but it's a totally different world, and it's a different mindset if you want to get into that particular market. But I think that market is here. It's just another area. Okay.
Well, you're an educator, and appreciate you giving us a bit of an education, certainly for me and hopefully for the audience, a bit of a perspective. It's a highly speculative area, so
yes, very, very highly. Yes, very.
So let's leave it there, but I really appreciate your input. Another big area that you speak to and educate around is artificial intelligence, and obviously AI has been a huge area of influence and impact across the supply chain. We've seen as supply chain has risen in prominence over the last 12 months or so in making sure the goods are delivered, and it seems to have a much higher profile, and we've talked about that on this program before. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about what you see the main trends in AI just in the near term in the next 6 to 12 months. What are you seeing as the main impact on supply chain other than the obvious?
I think for AI, you're going to see a lot of integration of artificial intelligence. Well, the continued integration of artificial intelligence in enterprise applications. Mm-hmm. I know that the Oracles have been introducing AI into their tools, you know, for forecasting, predictive maintenance. That's one area I'm excited about, and another one I've heard of is process intelligence, where it can track the processes or the SOPs, you know, within an enterprise application. It can use AI to kind of somewhat direct or suggest any kind of changes from a process perspective. So you're going to see the continued integration of AI within ERP applications and other applications such as that. Now, I think that you're also going to see the introduction of chatbots within these enterprise applications, where you can say, okay, give me all sales for the East Coast for January of 2021, like that. Boom, done. You know, so I think that that's very important, because there's a high percentage of data that individuals within organizations don't use. And I think that AI will be able to allow for that.
Okay.
Because that's a big deal within the industry, where it's like, oh, well, we can't get reports. We only have these reports that were created once we went live, and we never continued to develop these reports and things like that. But with AI, you don't need it because that's built in. That's where I think it's going.
So are you educating? Are you speaking and educating as a professor in the space of AI as well?
No, not in AI. I integrate. So I always say my elevator pitch. My elevator pitch is I teach on supply chain, and I integrate emerging technologies such as blockchain and artificial intelligence and sustainability. I've developed courses on blockchain, but in terms of artificial intelligence, I bring in the practical application. As of the last couple of months, I've been a part of the Institute for Computational and Data Sciences at Penn State, and I'm not a developer. I provide input as to, okay, how is the industry going to leverage these technologies that we're building? We just had a meeting 2 weeks ago for a number of corporate organizations that's going to come in and look at some of the work that we're doing and research we're doing. Okay,
so I'm going to take a snapshot right now. At the beginning of these sessions, I think you've seen one or two of them that we've done. I usually ask our guests to give us a bit of a rundown on their upbringing, their early days. And I'm as interested in your upbringing as I am in anybody else's. So I'm going to swing straight the way back and ask you to just snapshot us. What was your upbringing like, and how did you end up getting into the field that you're in now?
So it's interesting. It's very interesting. I grew up in North Carolina. I grew up in the country. And my grandfather, he worked at Energizer Battery, and my father was a plant manager. So that was kind of where this whole manufacturing and supply chain practice comes into play. But I played baseball at North Carolina A&T, and I was also in computer science my first semester. And the second semester, we had mandatory computer labs, and we traveled for baseball on Wednesday. So I went to the head of the department and said, I travel for baseball. What can I do? And they said, well, you have to choose either baseball or computer science. And I said, you're not paying for my scholarship, so I'm out. So actually one of my teammates was in a supply chain program. I think it was a second year within the supply chain program at North Carolina A&T. And he said that we could get scholarship money on top of our baseball scholarship. So as a broke college student, absolutely. But then once we got into the content, and because I was working in my father's factory, through high school, these concepts made sense to me. Like this is easy. This is almost common sense to me, So from there, I went to a management consulting company in California once I graduated, and the rest is history from there. And so I worked for a consulting company where we implemented ERP applications. So the integration of supply chain management, manufacturing, and technology, that's where it was born.
Sure. Excellent. Good. One of the things we talked about at the top of the show was TED Talks. And it's actually an aspiration of mine one day to get good enough about talking about something with a point of view to be able to get up there and get onto a TED Talk. One of my small goals that I have for myself. Talk to us a little bit about TED Talks. I mean, my understanding, and I may be completely wrong, but my perception is that TED Talks were really big a few years ago. I haven't seen so much as so much proliferation of online content has come on. Has TED Talks got lost in amongst the content explosion, or is it continuing to thrive? And what's your role as a TED Talk organizer? So
I will say. I also want to preface that it's TedX. So there's different. It's different. It's so TedX is under the TED umbrella. But You have to go through the same approval and things like that through TED conferences. But the reason why you haven't seen TEDx talks or TED talks is because people don't want to do a Zoom. They don't want to do the presentation that's going to change their life on a Zoom call.
Yep.
You know, so there are some that are still they're doing these remote virtual sessions, you know, but they're very few. You know, a lot of these organizers have made the decision to just wait until everything opens back up to reschedule their TEDx event.
Audience, right?
Yeah, to have an audience, because that's what happened. So we were supposed to hold our TEDx event in March, you know, in about 4 weeks from now, and so Penn State said that we can't hold like large gatherings and things like that. And they said, well, you can do it virtually, but you know, I think that, so then I reached out to all of my speakers, and it was unanimous. It's like, no, we'll wait until August, September timeframe. So that's, in my opinion, that's why you're not seeing a lot of these events going on at this given point in time. But from an organizing perspective, it's a lot that goes on behind the scenes for these events. I did 5 in 2019 on the topic of blockchain, and I did a lot at universities, and those students, they were absolutely phenomenal. You know, and I've been reaching out to these students that are still at, you know, RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, to, you know, understand, you know, what they did whenever they organized their event, you know, because they essentially bootstrapped it.
Okay.
You know, without any support, they bootstrapped it, and they put on an amazing event.
Awesome. So what advice would you give, Justin, to any of the audience here, as to how they should go about what will be the things that they have to come up with to qualify to be a TED speaker? And what is the difference between TEDx and TED Talks, by the way?
So the TED Talks are the organized events by TED conferences. TEDx are the independently organized events. So if you wanted to organize a TEDx event, you could do it within your community. Now they are difficult to obtain, but I have worked with a number of individuals to get TEDx licenses for their communities, for their areas, for their universities. I just worked with an individual. She goes to Vanderbilt, and she was trying to organize an event in Atlanta. And I worked with her, and across 2 weeks, she got the approval. She got rejected 3 times. And then over the span of 2 weeks, she got approval, you know. So, and because I understand the process, again, just reach out to me and we'll get you a license. Now, there are some cases where it's going to be more difficult than others, depending upon how many events you have, like in your region. So if you're trying to do one in Atlanta, it may be more difficult because there's a few TEDx events in Atlanta. There's a few TEDx events in New York City and things like that. But if you don't have an event in like a large city or in a community college or things like that, it's fairly easy to get that license.
So we'll provide.
Reach out to me. We'll get you one.
Details. Appreciate that. Hey, you want to switch over to the broader supply chain moving forward? It's going to be another really crazy, dynamic year. So we've had explosion in online consumer activity, massive. You know, where a lot of people were assuming that retail was going to slump in many areas. Of course, it's been hard times in many areas, but other areas have been very, very strong. What do you see as the mega trends, big trends that you can relate to, that you can just brief us on in terms of headliners in the next 12 months, your predictions of major factors around supply chain?
I think it's going to be the continued acceleration of technology. There has been so much innovation that has happened over the last year now. And in my opinion, it's all through technology. We were almost forced to innovate. We were forced to be agile. And because of that, because people were faced with survival, right? Because they were faced with survival, they looked to technology to create that, to continue to operate as an organization. Now, because of that, and because of a lot of organizations seeing these benefits, work from home, and now you've seen all these virtual conferences coming out, and some of them are absolutely amazing. You're going to see the continued increase in technological tools, and it's going to kind of filter into the supply chain space.
All right, interesting. Thanks for the insight. I always like to ask our guests to cast a bit of insight out there around what they're looking for in regards to for leadership and leaders, and what their advice is for leaders, whether it be supply chain or just business, moving ahead in very dynamic environments. And again, we can make a lot of predictions, but we really don't know what's going to happen in the next 12 months. I always ask our guests, what do you believe would be 2 or 3 things that leaders should have top of mind when they're looking to operate successfully and deal with the dynamics of what may be ahead in the next 12 months? A couple of quick hot points.
All right, I would say first off, you have to explain the why. So when anything within change management, you have to explain the why. You have to tell the people where we're going. You have to tell the people how we're going to get there, what's their involvement within that change, and how it's going to positively impact them. I talk about that in a number of discussions that I talk about principles of Jack Welch, right? Another important thing is that you have to practice shared leadership. And what I mean by that is you have to bring multiple people to the table. You have to bring people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, and more importantly, you have to bring in those millennials and those Gen Zs. I just had this conversation. So I just had a co-founder come into my class to guest lecture yesterday, and she was discussing, how her organization was having a tough time in social media. And because she came in to speak at a capstone class that had all marketing majors, she instead of her lecturing, she was writing down notes for a good hour and 10 minutes because they were talking about social media and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all kinds of stuff in terms of marketing. That's shared leadership. You're getting insight. You're getting insight from the people who's going to buy your products. It was amazing. I'm going to send her a bill too. But anyway, I
got to admit, I got onto TikTok about 6 months ago, and I've been addicted to it ever since. And my wife thinks it's, I'm just looking at comedy and whatever else while I'm at the lights. But I got to say, the spread and the immediacy and the freshness of information that flows through TikTok has got me. So
well, yeah. Are you on Clubhouse yet?
No. I think you've got to be invited to be in Clubhouse. You've got to be somebody important.
If you have an Apple, if you're an Apple user, send me your phone number. I'll get you on there.
I'm not. I'm an Android guy. So
so sorry.
See if you can help me
see
out.
What happens. But yeah, the Clubhouse, that's the biggest thing that's going on right now in terms of social media.
That's it. If you don't know about Clubhouse, and if anybody on here is in Clubhouse, then drop me a note and an email to my message bank below, and I'd love to talk to them, because that, as you say, that's hot. Hey, now you mentioned the Jack Welch Management Institute, or I know you're an associate professor there in recent times. I studied Jack when I was doing my MBA in 1993, as many millions of people have, and may he rest in peace. I believe he passed away in recent months. Just as a snapshot, what was it like being in the Jack Welch situation? Did you meet him? Was he still involved? And what was the culture of that organization?
Yes. So that was That was a very interesting time in that Jack was very much involved with the Jack Welch Management Institute. He would review. So this is what I was told. And you know how you go into interviews and people say these things, try to get you on board. And, you know, I spoke with the dean and he said, yeah, Jack reviews all the resumes for the faculty members. But we were small at this point in time. But every year we have a faculty retreat. We had a faculty retreat and Jack would be there. So he would come and speak with the faculty. And then at the end of the first night, we would all have dinner and things like that. And and the first night, Jack came downstairs and of course everybody just stopped and turned and waiting. But yeah. So my table was as soon as you walked in. So he pulls out the chair and he sits down and everybody's just in awe. And, you know, he sits down and about 5 minutes later, he just starts going around the table. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And, you know, I told him I was a management consultant before I came to JWMI. And he was like, oh, so you're the type of guy who just came and took my money, huh? and then he paused for a second. He's like, you know what? I do remember you. He said, I remember seeing your resume. And he said, you're the only person who doesn't have a PhD. I was getting my PhD at that given point in time. And he's like, you're the only person that doesn't have a PhD here. He said, but I reached out to an organization that you had on your resume because I know the CFO. And they said, you're an absolute killer in the industry. Yeah. He said that's why you're here. He said, but I'll tell you one thing. He said, if you don't get that PhD in a year and a half, you're gone. He tells it like it is. He's the most humble guy in the world, you know. And if you ask him a question, he'll sit there and he'll talk to you the rest of the night, you know. And he took a picture with every single person there.
Great, no, really good to hear. This guy's such a legend, and I know many of the audience will have read his material, and certainly he's had a big influence on industry.
Absolutely.
Supply chain. Hey, I know you got a busy day ahead of you, and I just want to wrap up by getting, as I do from all of our guests, a bit of an idea of when you brought people into your organization, or you are bringing people into any scenario around you to have outputs that are meaningful. What is it that you're looking for? And this may be around the groups that you lecture to, or it may be in a more commercial sense of some of the advisory work that you do. From a leadership perspective and bringing people in, what is it that you look for? What is the X factor that you look for people that you believe are going to be highly productive and really make a difference?
Mine's very interesting, but it works for me. I look for people who check me. Who have different perspectives than I do, and will say, Dr. Goldston or Justin, I don't agree with that. Tell me more, because I want to know.
Yeah,
you know, but those are the people that I like with me. Because if I build a team of individuals that think the same way I do, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? How am I going to progress? How am I going to build my organization? You know, and I think that you need to build a team like that. You need to build a diverse team like that. That's what's going to harness collaboration. Yep. You know, and I think that if we within the U.S. had that mindset, I think that we could all come together, but everyone's just stuck in their ways. Okay. And that's why we're in the nonsense we're in right now.
Okay.
You know, and I mean, it took me a long time to kind of figure that out, to understand that's the key, but that's the competitive advantage for organizations.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, Tom Peters, competitive advantage, takes me back to the days of books the last time I was in university, a few decades ago. Hey, Justin, always a pleasure to talk to you. Fantastic to get you on today. Appreciate your openness and your candor. in your POV on various things. It's clear that you're not a wallflower and you like to point your point of view out there. Really appreciate that. Look forward to keeping in touch with you. Keep educating people in the supply chain. From the outside in, I got to say, I think from a supply chain and business leader perspective, I think I speak for many people when we say that I think there's a lot of positive views around what's happening in the States at the moment, and we see a lot of good things happening. So we appreciate your time. We appreciate our audiences coming and spending some time with us today. For everybody who's out there, for the first responders, for the frontline workers, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. For those of you getting in harm's way to keep the rest of us safe and healthy, we take our hats off to you. Kudos to you, all the men and women who are doing so well out there for us. Justin, any final words from you? Really appreciate you coming on.
No, I don't have anything. I just ask everyone to follow me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions on sustainability, emerging technologies, such as AI and blockchain within supply chain management, shoot me a message and we can collaborate.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the contact. Thanks, everybody, and stay safe out there. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. Appreciate it.